Well, time has flown by because we're just having fun here watching games, and the games are just so incredible here. Lower bracket, game 3, the final round, the final opportunity to secure your seat into the grand finals for next week is right before us. I mean, I don't really have any bold predictions right now other than the fact that I think everyone we've seen do well, I think will continue to do well. I do think Blaha Mixin have what it takes to continue to stay consistent. I feel like they're locked in right now, and it's very clear that they have somewhat of an edge. Noxie and Chris with the comeback story from the bottom of the barrel up to a 42-place jump. Seems like they figured out, you know, what went wrong in the last game, playing a little too ambitiously in the early game, dialed that back a little bit. And here at the Brutal Beachhead, we finally see this fight actually unfold. It was 2 games of what looked to be diplomacy, but this time no more nice guy for Revise and Tahi. Tahi's going to be the first to fall in this duo, but gets a trade-off. That's a king.
Revise? Oh, he nearly had it. I thought for sure that initial shot was going to save the day there for Revised and Tahi, but he just comes up short. Literally 1 HP and a dream here for Silic as he continues to keep Kingaling involved. Now making his way towards the reboot van, but again, still plenty of action that could potentially take place. Redux and Seavers, they've got the audio cue of the reboot van. Even if Silic manages to get it off in time, he's going to commit, but he's not going to be able to make it. So Silic, a very short-lived victory off of closing that one with Revised and Redux. Seavers, they've now got this segment, or this section, I should say, of Brutal Beachhead to themselves inside of the warship right now.
I was just thinking to myself, like, Redux and Verse kind of popped up in that last game. Someone in the end game make these 50-plus points. I would have let him actually pick up the teammate. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah, it was so close. You know, you're right there. You know that these points mean everything. I'm just going to let him pick it up.
It's a valid takeaway, but maybe the thought process there for Redux and Seavers is that if they give him that little bit of extra time, that might also provide the extra time for another duo to come into the mix, which could potentially work against them. Because when you're playing that close to the bubble, every point counts, and they'd rather just not risk their potential to place later on. Evan bashing through. The split angle approach is going to work out so far. Messy not going to be able to continue. And this one is now Evan and Flappy. They've got to be real careful how they actually choose to move here. We actually saw Flappy after game 1. He was leading all players as far as elimination counts are concerned, but now it's down to his duo to seal the deal. A little bit closer than what Evan probably would have liked it to be, but the fact of the matter is, he came out on top, and so now they'll be able to go get the revive off onto Flappy, and these two will be able to continue their push here in match number 3.
Evan moving like he playing 0 builds right there for sure. Just ready. Brilliant and Stepperoni pushed in onto Blake and Macklin right now. Blake with the disengage back to his teammate. The first tag as well. The cone comes in. Carillion knows exactly what he's doing. However, wants to pause to go ahead and heal.
This is so dangerous for both of these teams. Carillion's putting it all on the line here. Macwood and Carillion full on trade with each other. It's just down to Blake versus Stepperoni. If they have any hopes of making this one work, and Blake seemingly better end of this exchange, he's got to chase this one down. He knows just how low Stepperoni actually is, and sure enough, Blake delivers just in the nick of time. Macwood and Blake weren't probably expecting that early company here at Redline Rig, but another team pressing into where this box fight just took place. It is a full disengage currently for Blake and Macwood. They're likely gonna have to forfeit going for that machinist medallion, but at this point, they're just trying to live.
This is crazy because Macwood's on foot right now. They know this is the weekend of 2 of the duo, and Blake just peeled off right now. I didn't even see him look back and fire I'm not sure if he's thinking like, wait, I'm just gonna stay alive. Like, this is the tournament run right here, but Macwood slips out somehow, and he might have actually just gotten just enough distance. That's crazy. And meets back up with Blake inside of the silos there. Whoa.
And turns out they already had the medallion to boot. So, fortunately enough for these two, they will live to see another moment. And it's crazy to think about, too, because Macwood and Blake, they are cutting it close right now, MDF. They are just outside of that top 15. And when you think about just the history behind both of those players, I mean, Macwood, someone who quite literally won the very first FNCS finals in competitive play post-World Cup era, and now still competing to this day alongside Blake as well, who's a very storied player as far as his merits are concerned in the competitive scene. To see those two not qual for the grand finals would definitely be pretty unexpected.
Yeah, we've been seeing Blake, honestly, he's been peaking lately, playing very well, finding his second win in competitive Fortnite. Very exciting stuff. He's doing alongside Macwood, playing with one another for as long as they have as well, just building up that rapport as a duo. Very fun to watch, very fun to root for. But right now we have WTJ's Antonio, Z-Link here, a little bit of high ground. Not content with sticking around here, though. They want to get closer to the action, so they just are on the move right now.
Trouble on the horizon, though, for Lawrence and Ozone. Looks like Lawrence got knocked, and the team that knocked him seemed like they were trying to capitalize on a full elimination. Everybody wants the points. That's for sure. Those are points that Muzz and Epic will definitely need, too. They want to keep building upon their position inside of that top 15.
They may be in 14 place right now, so everything and anything will count at this point. It's the last game, y'all. If you're just tuned into the lower bracket here, we played the first three of the upper bracket before going on a short intermission and returning back, allowing the players to reset, gear back up, and get their last and final opportunities for their big grand finals here. Cam and Minish, one of those teams that are having their first chances at this bat here today.
Almost a little bit surprised to see Cam and Minish. They don't really want to, the risk versus reward scenario, just not really worth it for them. They know what kind of troubles lay in front of them if they take too long hovering around that underworld. Because even if they win that initial elimination exchange up against the other duo they were dealing with, doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to pan out entirely in your favor. I mean, we've already seen numerous instances in this final lobby, Monster, where a player or two have found the knocks and eliminations they needed, only to immediately be third-partied after the fact. And I think for Cam and Minish, they just recognize the fact we just need to get to zone. We need to get situated and positioned to actually get our surge damage where it needs to be so we can focus on our rotates.
Speaking of our rotates, this is a clean one right now for TK and Turtle Tavern. No one really in sight to give him resistance. I don't know about you, Taco, but I'm looking forward to next week's Mongrel and Mr. Savage. I'm just looking forward to it. Can't wait. Replays are happening right now, though, really quickly. Milk's Shiesty swags right here. Using a Nitro, breaking into the box of Encrypted and just going for it right now.
Even with that Nitro shoulder bash damage being a little bit adjusted, a little bit nerfed, team still making sure to take full advantage of it when breaking into another player's box. Muzz and Epic Whale, though, they're just trying to hold their wall strong for the time being. Window peek, but nothing just yet. They're just waiting. Using the regeneration force of this Slurp Cacti inside of the bottom of their surge base. And now Muzz, he's going to head straight to the top. Healthy enough now that he'd rather just try, scope out where everyone else is at, see if he can apply some pressure, get some more surge damage online. Surge is definitely something that they have struggled with, and that's not to be unexpected considering that they are a team that lands relatively far north on the map. And when you're at Lavish Lair, uncontested, it can be difficult to find the damage you need to have that solid transition from your mid to late game.
Yeah, mostly because you have these other teams, you know, in the southern areas being way more, you know, risky with their exchanges, having the freedom to even be able to take shots like that. It does affect the bottom line a lot. In fact, this zone is coming pretty far south right now. Let's see how it's going to work out. Back with Cam in a minute, just from one fight onto the other. We haven't seen him have the ability to actually secure an elimination. Could this be the first? But it's going to have to come off the clutch here of Cam. We've already seen threats and Trashy be in a very tight situation before just last game. Trashy had to come in with the save. Now it's up to threats to do just that. Can he pull through right now? The thirst comes in for Cam. Cam's got to be careful, though. Should have made the edit when he had the chance to. Goes for the pre-fire instead, and it was a great tag there.
The problem now for both of these solos is the fact that other teams have had the opportunity to hear everything that was going down and move into the vicinity. Threats still trying to see if he can get some leverage over Cam, but at the same time, got to be really careful with whether or not he wants to even continue this exchange. Actually heading a little bit closer. Don't think he's going to opt for this reboot ban just yet, though. Knows that there's too much attention local to his current spot and keeps trying to move further and further away even. But Threats and Trashy, when you think about where they're currently at on the leaderboard, 144 points MDF, when we're looking at a rough estimate of around 88 for top 15, Threats and Trashy, they should be more than good to go here.
Yeah.
So
they're in first.
Threats,
they're in first right now.
They're not worried, but for Cam on the other hand, and Diminished, that was definitely a bit of a rough look as far as some of the fight exchanges that they're willing to go for, but I think it's largely just the result of teams not wanting to find themselves stuck underneath that surge damage threshold later on.
Yeah, all things considering, Threats could have totally threw their opportunity out the window. He could have said, hey, we qualled, I'm gonna sit right here, and it is what it is. You know, but he decides to really take this game seriously and, you know, work for his best performance yet, even not coming out of the lower bracket. No, I like seeing it because even at the end of this tournament, after these 3 games, you know, pro players are going to celebrate their performance. And if you finish first, that's going to create a statement for yourself, for your duo. And that's going to help set you up when you know, kind of lean your way into grand finals and start deciding where you want to drop, right?
For sure. And, you know, just touched on the fact that, hey, we're looking at roughly 88 points, right? Mixon and Blaha just underneath that. A little bit less of a point disparity to build up towards, but again, you're looking at teams like Davriz, like Jaris that are just probably a little bit more desperate for the point situation to swing their way. I mean, at this point, eliminations really do count, and having a really solid placement as well. So many of our bubble teams, though, just trying to see if they can establish themselves in these southern sections of the map.
They're not doing so just yet. Not safe, so here goes the rotate. Mordecai and Rigby on the move right now. Got Swax and Milks there just off to the side. And they actually decide to go in and try to gatekeep them a little bit for some storm tags before basing down or positioning up here.
Tough, though. It does cause Rigby a little bit of his shield. Another team further away, a little bit north of where he's at right now, spotted him out on his rotation, sliding down that mountain face. Minish and Chem, though, they're right back at it. Definitely looking worse for wear for the time being, but we've seen teams come up big in circumstances like these before, MDF, and it's really all down to just how well a Minish and Cam can actually recover from some of those mid-game hiccups. Is a Minish, probably the main priority right now is just trying to get some material in general. They need a lot more mats if they want to try and have a successful push later on.
Comes a surge warning.
Wow.
It seems like Baco and Vortec are doing pretty good for themselves at the moment. Doesn't hurt to ever go for more, though, of course. What is his base? I like it, though. Very much aware that anything
crazy.
can happen. Here's a real question. You think those cones in the roof came out before the Rift Island or after? Like, were they conscious and cautious no matter what?
I want to say most teams that are aware of where Rift Island is at would probably throw those cones up, but at the same time, you never really know, because we have seen a couple of offhand circumstances, right, where players haven't had the cones over their head and then they just get domed for it. So it could just be, you know, you learn firsthand from experience, right? So, man, this is tough though for Braids. Fortunately, didn't manage to get a few metal boxes around this Slurp Cacti. Kind of surprised even, but the moment that his shields break, Kaizen, Commander, you can expect them to try and pressure. But the way that Braids is playing this, you would think that he's a duo, not a solo. Shields have been cracked though. Now Kaizen, Commander, trying to make a move, but Braids doing what he can. He needs more damage at the same time though. He only had a handful of those small shield potions left over, and he's gonna need at least 2 or more successful shots. But Kaizen and Commander, they are playing this so passive. Given their circumstance, you would think that they'd want to get more aggressive, but maybe they just fully understood the fact that we're good as far as Surge is concerned. And not only that, but we've only got 4 points, so we really need to make sure that we don't get clipped early on, because then it's just going to fully compromise our chances at a strong placement in the late game.
Speaking about that strong placement, Muzz and Epic Whale are still alive right now. And they found themselves a nice little base here inside the storm, nice and safe in the zone here. The damage, though, they're starting to slip further and further below, so they do have to pretty much remain active at this point.
Mordecai and Rigby, though, this doesn't look like it's going to be a beneficial box fight for any of the teams involved. Ziggy and Phenom, from a slight distance, they're actually going to get to pick off what Mordecai and Rigby seemingly started. Fortunately, that is going to provide Mordecai and Rigby a chance to at least recover a little bit of their shields off the Flowberry Fizz, and now looking to see if they can try and track down exactly where Jari's scurried off to, but they've got to be quick about it because, again, Ziggy, Phenom, they're already fully aware of the amount of players that are based below them and in combat. Big shots exchanged. Mordecai will manage to confirm the last bit there, but now it's just the revive that he's got to get off onto Rigby, and even more resources that's going to cost these two.
This is where things start to get interesting. We're approaching the placement points here and now. The most critical part of this game 3 for all of our teams that are on the bubble, all of the teams that are in conversation to kind of hold their position here, hold the line. These placement points are just around the corner. This is about as light of a lobby as we've seen it be at Zone 7. Look, the Storm Surge literally turned off right there. We are right at the perfect threshold. The activity just continued to pick up. Source and Poffiee, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Take down Macwood there. Will that be the end of Macwood's run? I'm not even sure how many points they had, Doc. I'll be honest with you.
Heading into this one.
They didn't get placement this time around. That's what we know.
Yeah, but that's the tragic part because they were 22nd with about 48 points when we started this match. And it's just heartbreaker, I think, at times when you recognize the situation that some of these players are left in. But where some teams downfall, that's where others can thrive, right? Source, Poffiee, they are a team that has just been all on the up and up here in the lower bracket today. 145 points pretty, now in control of that mythic combat assault rifle. If they actually manage to work their way up to the high ground, they're going to be able to lay down some really good suppressive fire, and especially if they're controlling that machinist medallion, which they should be, or which they potentially could be. All depends. They only have the one elim. We know it was Macwood. Don't know where Blake might be, or if he was picked up by somebody else elsewhere. But even half of that combination is still a lot to work with, and Source very meticulously searching, trying to see if there's anyone that they can look to just kind of swoop down into. But they're safe for the time being. They do need a little bit more damage, though. Only 159 above that surge threshold.
That's right, just scavenging the opportunities here in the map. Noxie and Crisp just out of the dungeons into the top 15 right now. They're doing it. You need 2 good games. They threw one, they made up for it in the second round, and here they go with another performance. Veterans, you know, doing things that we expect the veterans to do right here.
And we saw them get off to a relatively hot start as well over towards that northern side of the map. They've had to cover a lot of ground to make it over here on the south side near the Nitrodrome, but Z-Link, Antonio, currently in control of a relatively uncongested area. Looking to be secondary height for the time being, but they don't want to pop out just yet. They know they're safe in their current location. A lot of space kind of claimed right now, but it's going to be a move soon enough. Once the Flowberry Fizz comes out, have to expect potentially a crash pad after the fact. Teams just trying to make sure that they can fixate themselves on the front side of the zone.
Well, here we go. The final opportunities are here. Only 3 zones separate Epic Whale, Muzz from the grand finals, and a lot more points as well, as they only have 70 right now. So these placement points are going to be absolutely critical here. We need to see at least a top 10 for Muzz and Epic Whale, or another set of eliminations start to come through here. Let's see if the rotate start to come over. Good tags come out, but it's going to be ultimate low. Falls a little bit short of where they want to be. It's going to burn a lot of material. Meanwhile, on high ground, Z-Link, Tonio trying to figure out what they can do with their position. I see a Cease flying by the way, by himself. Is Cease going to be able to pull through right now? From 30th on up. We know some of the teams, some of the immediate competition have fallen out. Crisp and Noxie, Ports are telling us a story in its own. They're fighting for top 10 potentially at this rate.
Right now, what's brutal is the way that the zone is pulling over these hills, over this elevation shift.
Mixon's gonna still in it.
And this is perfect for Mixon and Blaha, aside from the fact that they are currently below that surge threshold, but one good shot is all it would take. Blaha even gonna opt to use his medkit a little preemptively.
Cease is still in.
They are above and Cease everything.
With the elim.
And he might actually be able to clutch it.
He's still going. And on high ground, Z-Link picking up the points right now. Also below this surge, what are we witnessing right now? The damage is coming through right now. And it is chaos. There are too many players alive here for this tight zone right now. But Z-Link's gonna have to give it up. He's out of material. And that's not what you really want to do, but there is no other choice. This is an act of desperation in the final attempts here to try to maintain top 15. Top 15 is so difficult to achieve at this rate, as you're seeing how close all of these points are. Keep in mind, it is going to be extremely competitive.
Fortunately enough, though, I think Z-Link And Antonio had enough points, but Epic Whale and Muzz
Muzz is still
just
going.
skirting over. Muzz, he's hiding out inside of the cone. No one has spotted out this solo just yet. He has exactly one build that he can afford to make.
Oh my
Crash
gosh.
pads up. Just trying to bounce up the up-down tactic here from Muzz. But I think he's done it. Epic
Top
Whale
5.
and Muzz.
98 points, top 5. Muzz is still holding on. He's trying to make it there. No one even wants to peek. Everyone wants to stay alive right now. Muzz sees an opening. He goes up for it. Turtle Tavern. Doesn't want to do it to him. Still trying to hold it, and he takes down Chubbs. He earns himself even more points. We might have just watched the clutch come through from Epic Whale and Muzz there in the final stretch.
Actually going to be a nail-biter finish to see whether or not they manage to pull their way across the finish line, but Clara taken down on the low ground. Shore credited with the elimination for that one, but Shore falls shortly after. Zypha now left to scramble, pick up the pieces, also trying to solidify just a few more placement points wherever possible. And now it's actually down to the final moments here, a 1v1, but Poffiee with the positioning, with the health advantage, 2 medkits as well. I don't even know if it's possible for Zypha to get high enough up to even challenge Poffiee. They have the crash pads.
I think Poffy's gonna give him a chance to fight him. Never mind. Poffiee just wants to win, and he slides his way out. What a fantastic game. What a spectacular way to close that out. And honestly, I think we might have seen some incredible last-minute performances there. And that's how significant a singular game can be. There is only 3 games in this lower bracket setting right now, and the best will have to float to the top if they want to have a seat at the grand finals. And honestly, I think we just seen it happen.
Yeah, the main storyline, at least for me, MDF, I know that Poffiee and Source got to pop off and really strut their stuff. Yeah, that is going to be a back-to-back circumstance, and considering that this is a team that just formed at the last moment, it is insane to think about the chemistry they were able to develop in such a short time frame. It only makes me all the more excited to know that they have at least another week to get a little bit of additional practice in, get in some of that very needed VOD review. All these teams that are going to find themselves within the top 15, you can expect that they're definitely going to be very busy for this next week leading up to grand finals. But Monster, it's been an absolute pleasure. Had such a phenomenal time watching all the action take place in these final 3 games of semifinals lower bracket. But now it's all down to Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly to let us know exactly what those top 15 look like.